This is 39D, and this will be our last lecture for today. We're learning about feudalism. In feudalism, please know that the lord is the person who owned the land. The vassal receives the land grant, which is sometimes called a fief. The land grant is called a fief or a fiefdom, and then the vassal would be the fief. The knight pledges to defend the lord's land in exchange for fiefs. So he gets a land grant as well. And then the serfs are peasants who are bound to the land. And that's the feudal structure, that old pyramid class structure. Manors were the lord's estate. Peasants were bound to work that land, and they would get protection. They would get housing, usually like huts around the land. The knights would get to live in the manor with the lord, and the manors would have farmland that the peasants would work. So talking about back to Robin Hood. So I told you to think about Robin Hood when you think about the Magna Carta in 1215. Question is, Robin Hood fact or fiction? We may go kind of on some stations about this. We'll see if we have time. Local warrants, records, and legends combine to form the ultimate vigilante. So he may be a little bit of a tall tale, like Paul Bunyan, Davy Crockett. Some things true, some things kind of larger than life. And it may have been based on several different people combined into one. It may have been a couple criminals, a couple activists, a name derived from a debtor. But who does this person personify? Robin Hood encapsulates the struggle of the English common people under King John, feeling like the poor had too little money to survive and that the king didn't care. He's just, you've seen the Disney movie. He's just in his bedroom counting his money in his pajamas. It's kind of how John the Tiger is portrayed. Now, some true names. The Sheriff of Nottingham was a real person. It's a real historical person who made life difficult for poor people. And the Sherwood Forest was a place where bandits would sometimes hide out from the law. And if I haven't shown you the Robin Hood clip yet, ask me for that. Now, model parliament. So this is following 1215 with the Magna Carta. Later on in 1295, we have Edward I, who wants to fight the French, the Welsh, and the Scots. And he needs money, he needs support. He's going to try to defend England from these groups that are encroaching on their space and their power. And he asks two burgesses, which are wealthy property owners, to join him in the fight per borough. And he wants two knights. And in order for them to feel invested in the fight, he says that they can be his advisors. And this is England's first parliament. So they're going to have an active role in the government because he wants their buy-in so that they commit more to his cause. Now, the current parliament in England, which came soon after this, is the House of Commons and the House of Lords. And the House of Lords is more the burgesses, the elite. The Commons, a little bit more the everyday people, originally the knights. Now, between the parliament and the document, the Magna Carta, the king's power is checked or blocked. And the lords, the lords of the manor, could only go so far. They were not above or beyond the law. They had to answer to the law as well. Now we're going to go back to France and look at their version of parliament. So by the year 1000 AD, France is made up of 47 feudal territories. So they had feudalism 47 different times in France. This happened kind of because the kings were a little bit less strong than the Carolingian dynasty that ended in 987. 987 to 1328, Hugh Capet begins the Capetian dynasty, which does last for a while. And basically, in 1302, you have some unrest. The Pope says priests don't have to pay the king taxes. Philip IV, who rules from 1285 to 1314, wants wider support. So he sets up a parliament in France. He allows commoners into the Estates General. And I'll show you how the estates worked in France. The estate is the French version of the English Parliament, House of Commons, House of Lords. This is France, the Estates General. To be in the first estate, you were a church worker. The second estate, you were a lord, a landowner. The third estate, commoners, but still you had to own some land to be in government at all. Kind of like you have a stake in this country because you own land. We'll go really fast to finish